Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie. I have another video for you guys this week. So, the topic for today is going to be about what's the difference between PA school and undergraduate school. So, I know I had a question about that. I was wondering about that before I started PA school, and now that I've been one semester deep into my PA program, I am going to address this question. So, if you are interested, just keep watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Alright guys, so what's the difference between undergraduate school and PA school? So what's the difference? And I can say that there is a huge difference. During PA school, my first semester, I got one of the lowest grades that I've ever had, ever in high school, in my undergraduate schools, ever. I never thought that I would be able to get such a low grade on an exam, and it happened in PA school. And why? Why did it happen? It's because PA school is completely different than undergraduate school, in my experience. You know, you have a larger course load, and the classes are definitely a lot harder. It's termed like one of the previous PA students from our program. You know, it's like a med school crash course. It really is. You're learning all this information, and it's like you're drinking water out of the hose because it's so much information. And now that I've completed one semester PA school, I've learned so much, not only academically, but I've also learned how to become a better student. I thought I was a good student, but after this semester, you know, I had to change so many things, whether it was my studying routine, the way I studied, how I studied, where I studied, like all that. I changed it because your first semester, you're trying to find out what is the best way to study, best way of studying that works for you, because a way of studying can work for another person, but it may not work for you. And that's what I learned. I learned it the hard way. I tried to copy what some of the studying ways that some other students had, and it didn't work out for me. Some students pulled all-nighters before exams, and I tried that, and it did not work out for me. I actually ended up doing really bad on my exam. Also, the fact that learning that I can't study at home. I was actually able to do this during my undergraduate years, but I tried doing this for PA program, and I couldn't do it. I found that my bed was very appealing, and I wanted to go and sleep. So yeah, I really don't recommend that. And also that the fact that there was also a lot of things that would distract me, whether it was just noise or just the just noise, or like TV sounds, from family members. It was just very distracting for me. So that's why I chose to study at the library. And the majority of the time that I was in PA school for my first semester, I was at school. I was at the library. And if I wasn't at the university library, I was at the McAllen Public Library or the City Public Library. You could find me there all day. And that's because I learned that I couldn't study at home because I had so many things that were distracting me. And definitely, wanting to take naps because you're so mentally exhausted throughout the day that I wanted to take naps. And my naps sometimes would last 2 or 3 hours, and I would lose out 2 to 3 hours. So what I learned is to take power naps. And guys, like, a power nap can do so much for you. While I'm studying, literally I would put my head down, and if I was sitting with my classmate, I would tell them, you know what, wake me up in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and they would. And after that, like, I felt rejuvenated. Because just a nap does so much for you. So I learned all of this my first semester of PA school. Versus undergraduate school, I could take 2 or 3 hours naps. I definitely could afford it, and then I could still get good grades. I was able to cram the day before the exams, and I did very well. Well, that's not the case for PA school. You can't cram for PA school. At least in my experience and students that are in my class, from what they've told me, you cannot cram for PA school because there's so much information. Literally, like, when we start the next module, I am learning that information. The first day of that module, I come home and I'm literally like studying. That's when my studying begins, is right after that module starts. I start studying the material, because you can't just cram everything, because it's just so much information and you're having to worry about so many classes. You're having to worry about pharmacology, your introduction to clinical medicine class, your pathophysiology class, your patient encounter class, your EKG class. I mean, it's just so much information and there's no way you can cram. And I thought that was possible with the first round of exams, and then I learned that it's not. It's definitely not so. That's one of the differences also. Also, the course load. I was accustomed to, most of the semesters I took 12 hours. There was a few semesters where I did take more than 12 hours. There was one semester where I took more than 20 hours. But the course load that you're taking, I am taking 17 hours, or I took 17 hours my first semester. My spring semester, I will be taking 18 semester hours. So 17 semester hours, that was 7 classes. So also the course load is a lot more than your undergraduate course load. And also the type of information that you are learning is also a lot more. And the difficulty of the courses, in my experience, are higher than your undergraduate difficulty courses. The exams, they're a lot more different than undergraduate exams. For undergraduate exams, I was used to taking exams on paper copies or filling out scantrons. Now for PA school, we take our exams online on a computer. The exams are meant to mimic the PANCE. So most of the exam they want to be able to prepare you to do well and excel on the PANCE exam. So when you graduate, you get a good grade. So that's what most of our exams are. And most of our exams are more about critical thinking. They want to be able to engage that part of your brain, your critical thinking skills. So when you're taking the exam, you have A, B, C, D, E, and then the question will ask you, well, what is the answer? But they want to know what is the best answer. So A, B, C, and D can be the correct answer. And from those, you want to know, well, what is the best answer from A, B, C, and D? And then you'll have questions that will give you a large scenario, paragraph, and you have to read through it. And you want to pick up the important details, and you read through it, and you're done. You're like, oh my goodness, I know what the diagnosis is. So you get to look at your answer choices, and none of them are the diagnosis choices. Rather, they are asking you what is the best tool to use for examination for this diagnosis. So once again, you have to know the diagnosis, and not only you have to know the correct diagnosis, you have to know what is the best tool for examination for this diagnosis. And there can be a gold standard test used for this diagnosis, which is a gold standard, which is the one that the book recommends, or there can be also what is the most commonly and most efficient one used. So you really, really have to pay attention to the questions. And I know that was one of the things that I really was my weakness, is that I got so caught up in the question with all the details, I wasn't reading through. So that was another thing that I learned my first semester. I was just not accustomed to questions like that in comparison to my undergraduate years. So yeah, those are some of the differences that I noticed from PA school and undergraduate school. Also the fact that I found myself studying a lot more in PA school than undergraduate school. And it's interesting because throughout my semester I was thinking, I'm like, oh my goodness, if I would have studied this way for my undergraduate school, I think I would have gotten a higher GPA. Because I studied for my undergraduate classes, but not as much as I study in PA school. And yeah, this is one of the differences also, is how you study for PA school and how much time you study for PA school. Also, how much time you are in class in PA school. I would be in class from 8 to 6 some days, 8 to 4. Sometimes go 6 days a week to school out of the 7 days. Versus when I was in undergraduate school, I would just go 3 days a week, or not even 2 days a week. And definitely I was not on campus or at school on the weekends. So that was just also another difference also between PA school and undergraduate school. So I think it's interesting that I'm making this video right after my first semester. I think it'll be interesting to see if I remake this video after the end of my second semester, or even at the end of my first year, my first didactic year. It's interesting because I was watching my video of my first week of PA school and how much I have come along from the first video and how my perspective has changed. So this is just my perspective after 1 semester of PA school. Hopefully this answers your guys' questions. You know, what is the difference between PA school and undergraduate school? Is just the course load, the amount of information you're being taught in such a short period of time, and also how you study for your courses, the amount of time you have for school, and the amount of time you choose to set aside for school. So that's basically the difference. Alright guys, so if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions for me, comment below or send me an email and I will get back to you guys as soon as possible. And if you guys like this video, thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks guys, I'll talk to you guys later.